Hi, everybody. So, in week 8, we begin our discussion of Android. This is only the second time I've actually taught this content, so there's still going to be some things that are kind of new, and I'm also trying to apply some of the lessons learned from last time. One of the big lessons learned is that in order to get everybody up and running with the Android tool set, it'd be a good idea to have us prepare beforehand because there is a lot of binaries, a lot of stuff to download. And last year we had this kind of comedy of errors as like 30 people tried to download all this stuff over the school Wi-Fi there in the classroom, and it took forever. As a matter of fact, I remember one student like actually walked out, like went across the street to a different network and downloaded things in about a tenth of the time as everybody else. So what I'm doing tonight is I'm putting together a screencast for everybody that I hope at least some of you, if not all of you, will watch between now and Wednesday's class to give yourself a head start on it, and this will allow us to focus on maybe some trouble issues, some trouble shooting that we can do on Wednesday together, and to then let us sort of dive a little bit more into at least the very fundamentals of what it means to install an Android development kit and Android Studio. So let's get started by looking at the Android assignment. This is Project 6, a fully featured small device application. Now, I'll talk about the details of all of this in class tomorrow night, but there's one process that I want to walk you through not tomorrow night, on Wednesday night, that I want to walk you through now. And that's this link here, which talks about getting started with Android by installing Android Studio IDE. So, we've been using IntelliJ up to this point, and this is plain old IntelliJ. I mean, it's Enterprise IntelliJ that we have our academic licenses for. When we do our Android development, though, we're going to use another IDE called Android Studio. Now, actually, Android Studio is just a customized version of IntelliJ. So this is great. It's got the same keyboard shortcuts and all the same refactorings, and it lays out the projects in pretty much the same way that we're used to. But this has been customized to work really well with Android development and to include a bunch of tools for managing the Android SDK, the Android virtual devices, the AVDs, all of that. So the emulator, everything works all together nicely, just like you'd want in an IDE. IntelliJ does have some Android support, but it's not nearly as good as Android Studio, and I can never get it to work. So what you want to do is download and install Android Studio. That's what I'm going to do now in the screencast. So this might take a little while, so I might I might speed up some of these parts. Feel free to pause it while you are waiting for your work to download. So first thing we're going to do is download Android Studio. Yep, I have read this many times. It's going to download the DMG. Of course, if you're running on different platforms, you'll have a slightly different experience. It's probably one of those places where I'm going to speed up. Great. This is download, so I'll open up the disk image. Okay, now I'm just going to install it by dragging it into applications, because of course this makes sense. There it is, copying. Now when I open applications, I see Android Studio. So I'm going to open up Android Studio. Yes, I trust it. I just downloaded it. Oops, we'll get Android Studio up here. I don't need to import any settings. See here, contain configuration. Let's use check the box. Actually, want to safely delete. Oh yeah, I had an older version on here. Yeah, I'm just gonna start from scratch, delete all that stuff. So you probably won't see this if you're doing a fresh install. Okay, so the first time that you install Android Studio, it's going to ask you to set up your development environment for Android. If you watch the Android lecture, you'll learn about the Android Software Development Kit, the Android SDK. You'll learn about virtual devices, the emulators, all that kind of stuff. I should probably turn off. I'll turn off Slack for a moment. So all that good stuff. Look, Android Studio makes it very easy to manage all of that, and I recommend you just let Android Studio do the heavy lifting. Everything will still work from the command line, as we'll see eventually. So let's see here. Standard, don't try to mess with things. Get everything working the easy way. UI theme, I prefer the light theme. Works better for my eyes. Okay, talking about JDK, let's see here. Yep, it's looking for just what you. Okay, looks like it installs its own JDK. That's fine because it needs a Java 8, or at least something that can build Java 8. And it's telling here's all the stuff to. Yep, that'll download like the emulator, build tools, platform, you have version 29s, all the right kind of stuff. Oh, good, even like the Haxum stuff, which I need for the Mac. This looks all great. I'll finish, and now we'll just watch it download for a while. I'll show the details just so we can see. Okay, looks like it's all set. Silent installation pass. Okay, great. So now it's installed all of the tools that you need to build an Android application. Now let's start a new project. So with Android, with the Java projects, we had the getting started repository, and we had the create project 1 script, the create project 5 script, and that did all this Maven stuff. That was great for the Java projects, but now for the Android project, we're gonna need a lot more. And I haven't put together like a Android. I haven't put together like a Maven archetype for that or anything. So here we're just going to use Android Studio to create the project for us. So let's see here. I'm going to start a new Android project. Actually, wait a second. Let me go back and look again. Profile or configure. No, okay. I guess I don't need to. I know eventually we're going to need to run the AVD manager, but let's create a new project first. I think this is really what Android Studio would rather have us do. So let's just create a basic activity. So an activity is basically a screen in Android. Again, you can watch the lecture to learn all about this. We'll call it my application. Well, we'll call it first Android app. And we'll put it in CS410J, your user ID. The location, I want to put it in with my Portland State Java. Let's do winter 2020. I'm going to put it here in a new directory called first Android app. This way it'll be in Git. So I'm going to put it in this. You should do the same. Language, Java. So Kotlin is another language that runs on the JVM, developed by JetBrains. The Android people seem to like it a lot. This is not advanced programming with Kotlin. This is advanced programming with Java. So you're going to choose Java. And then the minimum SDK version. So let's see here. It goes all the way back to Android 16. I think we can just leave it there. It lets you know that, hey, listen, by choosing an older version, this will run on almost all of the devices. And let's see here. I don't think we need to use the Android support library. We'll actually be running it on a much newer device, but might as well just choose 16. I don't think there's anything in the newer APIs which are so meaningful or so impressive that we'd want to use them. Okay, so now we will finish that. It's creating the project and loading it into Android. Uh, let's see here, Android Studio. Would like to install a shell script formatter. Would you like to play a game of chess? How about global thermonuclear war? No. Okay. I don't know why that was all about. It probably saw some shell script file and said, "Oh, we should do that." Oh, look. Okay, it detects that we are in a Git repository. It looks like it hasn't found things in version control yet. This is good. And now Android Studio is sort of starting up, and it's analyzing the project. It's downloaded Gradle, which is the build system for Android. Gradle is the successor to Maven. And Android Studio is telling you about all the new cool stuff there is. We might play with these in class a little bit, but there's a really nice set of design tools where you can visually draw and lay out your UI, which will make it easier to work with, honestly, than having to write all the code sort of by hand in either XML or as Java objects, which you definitely don't want to do. You can probably hear my fan going in the background, and we're just going to wait for it to index. Oh, look at this. Studio performance could be improved, increasing the maximum heap size from that to that to make the IDE performance better based on available memory and your project size. Actions. Use recommendation and restart. Yeah, let's do that. Just going to restart Android Studio with some more memory. Android Studio does a lot, and that doesn't come for free. And so then, one of the things that I heard from students last year is a couple of students with underpowered laptops and stuff. It took a while for everything to happen. So be patient. I think your patience will be rewarded because another thing I also heard from students is they really enjoyed working with Android development. Okay. Wow. So, actually, what we're looking at right now is the the view of the application. So let's see here. Well, I don't know. Let's. So over here we can we have the Android view of the project, and we've got source code here. We've got both test code and the main source code. You've got your main activity, which I guess is also right here. All sorts of good stuff happening here. We're not going to dive into this right now, but instead what we're going to do is we're going to run it. It's IntelliJ, and so you click run, and what happens? It says, no target device found. So you need to go to devices. So Android applications are run on emulators. It can also be run, I suppose, on a device plugged into your laptop with a USB. But please run with a with a device. We want to use something called the AVD Manager, the Android Virtual Device Manager, to download and configure these emulator devices. So we'll open that up, and yes, it allows you to create virtual devices. So we'll create one here. Let's see here. There was often the assignment. It was there was a Google Pixel. There was a particular version that I want everybody to use. Let's go back to that. It was Pixel 2 API 29 emulator. So Pixel 2, I think it's refresh. I probably don't need to refresh. Pixel 2, say next, and then 29, so not R, so download 29. Yes, you please read the license. I've read this license many times, so I'll say yes and watch it install. Here again, this is a gigabyte of emulator, which can take a while, especially over the school time. Okay, good. Looks like all that's finished. Okay, good. So now we've got Q API level 29. Okay, it's all good there. Click next. Sure, we'll just call it this. We'll start up orientation will be portrait. I don't think we need anything in the advanced settings. Let's just take a look. Camera, nah, we're not going to do that. Now we have an Android virtual device. Very nice. There it is. So then again, Pixel 2 API 29. 29. We can launch it, but I don't think I think we can also do it from over here. So if we say run, okay, now it's launched the emulator, and so you have something that looks like a phone right here, and it's starting up. The first time it starts up, it takes a little while. Of course, there it goes. Okay, finally. Okay, and here we are. We're running our first Android app. What does clicking next do? Okay, it creates a different fragment. What does this little mail button do? Replace with your own action. Cool. Anyway, so this is how you can get started with Android. That's all I want to show you for right now. In class, we'll dive into the code. Maybe not this week. We just want to get this much running. Make sure everybody's environment is all set up. But then definitely in the coming weeks, we'll learn a lot about Android. We'll be playing with a lot of cool stuff. But I wanted to give you the screencast just so we can get started. So anyway, I will see you in class on Wednesday. Until then, have a great time. See you later.